You know, some days we need them more than other days.
That is absolutely for sure.
I need some strategies today. I need some strategies for a living. How about you?
That sounds good. As long as I'm living, I could use a few strategies.
Hey, folks, are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab? Well, I hope so, because here we are. Welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan. She is psychotherapist Lauren Leon McMillan. And you've been looking forward to today's program.
I have. I'm excited for our life strategist tonight.
I am too. I've been looking forward to this. You know, the question that I have, Lauren, is how?
How?
How? Yeah. How do we take wisdom? Because there's a lot of ancient wisdom out there. There's a lot available to us, probably more than ever.
Sure.
So how do we put it into practice today? That's the question.
That is a good question.
Isn't it a good question?
I think it's a good question worth wrestling with.
And I think our life strategist today can help us with that through yoga. You know, the question is, you know, do I have to learn those poses?
The asanas.
Yeah. And how about those, you know, those fancy yoga pants? Do I have to put those on?
Well, I'd like to see that for one.
Yeah. Well, I think
if she can convince you, I'd be grateful.
I think,
but I don't know that it's necessary.
I think our life strategist today is going to tell me, no, I don't need to worry about that.
We'll see.
She is Nicole Byars, and she says that her mission is to help us to slow down and to incorporate yoga. To incorporate it as a lifestyle. I mean, it is, in other words, no crazy yoga poses and no, you know, I mean, I could put on the yoga pants, but I don't have to. Yeah.
I like that option, though.
Yeah. Living yoga beyond the mat. It's 10 life-changing ways to move from messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. Don't you love that subtitle?
Absolutely. It's something very timely. It's something we all could use a little more of right now.
I think so. And, you know, a lot of us think we know what yoga is.
Right.
We certainly have heard of yoga. If you haven't done yoga, many people listening to us have done some sort of yoga. But I think there's probably also people listening to us that are saying, yoga, say what? So we're hopefully we're gonna address both groups today, and I think Nicole Byars is gonna help us to live yoga beyond the mat, and that's our focus today here on strategies for living, of course. And we appreciate you being with us. We appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center, Azalea Cleaners, Pintail Roofing, Learning RX, Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment to meet life strategist Nicole Byars today here on Strategies for Living. Stay right where you are. We've got a lot to learn. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. How many times do I say there is no place like Robinson Film Center?
You don't say it enough.
Well, no, I probably don't. And there is no place like the Robinson Film Center. I mean, you know, where do you go to see current movies that you're not going to see anyplace else? Well, Robinson Film Center. Find out what's showing at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And then you've got Abby Singer's Bistro, right? Full-service bistro and bar, second floor of the Robinson.
That's what I can't get enough of.
Oh, man. So, you know, here's what you want to do. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Dawnisa Walker with Learning RX Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, Maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending. Learning RX Report offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call Learning RX Report. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning RX Report.
Hey, welcome in. Welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Let's welcome into the program now Nicole Byars. She has multi-years of experience as an accomplished trauma-informed yoga specialist, also a published author, giving her the unique tools to help others step into transformative thinking and creating optimum outcomes, both professionally and personally. 500 hours she's got as a registered yoga teacher, and she's also the visionary behind Honest Yoga Studios in Minneapolis. She's overcome an eating disorder and physical and emotional setbacks, and has discovered really the power of inner child work and reframing limiting beliefs, becoming her own source of support and love. Kind of from tragedy to triumph, and you're over there clapping.
Bravo.
Yeah.
From a psychotherapist point of view,
there
absolutely.
You go. There you go.
That's what it's about.
Nicole Byars, welcome. Welcome into Strategies for Living.
Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So you've got an interesting story. So you were doing a little healing Reiki back a time ago, and you just got this. You just really got a strong urging. Can you share a little bit about that, Nicole? What happened during that session?
Yeah, so it was. For your audience or your listeners, Reiki, it's a form of energy work, if you will. And so I was receiving this Reiki, and I just had this vision of myself seated at a desk, typing this book. And I had a pretty good idea of what I knew this book was going to be about. And to be honest, like I'm not a writer really.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had never written a book before. So this was kind of a download situation for you, huh?
Yeah, it was a surprise. And to be honest with you, I have taught yoga for many years, and I own a studio in Minneapolis, and the community there is wonderful. However, you're really limited, right, to how many people you can reach. And so I think this whole download or this vision that I had of writing the book, it was really about how can I spread more of this message of yoga and what I've learned throughout the years to a much broader audience. And writing the book was really my way to spread the message, if you will.
All right. So as I said in the intro, Nicole, I think some people listening to us are very familiar with yoga, probably have even done some yoga. There's also people listening to us right now that are, yoga, say what?
Yeah.
So let's start there. What exactly is yoga? How do we define yoga?
Sure. So, I think the Western, the way that we define it over here in the U.S., it's typically seen as more of a physical practice. People associate yoga with, a warrior two, a down dog, a hot yoga class, even goat yoga. That's kind of a trendy thing. I don't know have you guys seen that?
Yes.
Goat yoga. Yeah. So I think that's what we associate yoga with. And for a lot of people, that can be intimidating.
Yeah.
And so that's what many people see it as. Now, what yoga really means, besides this whole like to yoke or union, what it really means is living in the present moment. Yoga means begins now. So if you think about, you've got the Bible, and in yoga, we have what we call the sutras.
Right.
So it's kind of like this way of living. It's kind of like the Bible, if you would compare it to in Christianity. It's the sutras in yoga. And the first one states, yoga is now. So that literally means you could be washing the dishes, and if you're really in the moment and you are feeling the plate on your hand, the water as it comes out, just really there in the moment, feeling the ground supporting your feet, that's doing yoga.
Yeah.
So it's really accessible for everybody.
Absolutely.
And it's way beyond the physical practice.
Now, one of the things that you decided to do in the book was not just talk about yoga, but you did talk very practically. You talked about you. You told stories, and everybody's got stories. All God's children have got stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a successful. As I read through, it sounded to me like. Read to me like, okay, well, you kind of had the American dream going. You had your studio, and you had your relationship, you had the kids, but you were busy, and there's a story there, isn't there? That's kind of one of the stories that it's seemed to me like birthed the book. Am I right about that? That came down with that Reiki session. That said, right.
Yes. And I think I on the outside, for sure, that's what it looks like. I had the marriage, the kids, the house, the studio. And it was all more, again, it just looked really good on the outside.
Right.
But on the inside, I was suffering with a lot of anxiety. Depression. I wasn't living in alignment, but I was out there teaching about how to live a better life, how to slow down, how to do all these things. But I wasn't actually practicing those behind closed doors, which that was a strong disconnect.
Did you worry? Did you worry to yourself? Oh, somebody's gonna find me out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Of course I did. I think especially in this industry, if you work in the health and wellness industry, if you teach on this type of work, if you're not practicing what you're preaching, you can. And even if you are practicing what you're preaching, you can definitely feel like a fraud, And so there was this like cognitive dissonance, if you will, especially when I went through my divorce. And that was putting it out into the world. Like everything is not perfect, and I wrote about that in the book. And that was a really difficult time for me. But man, I'm so grateful for the blessings that came out of it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. The book is Living Yoga Beyond the Mat, 10 life-changing ways to move from this messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. So in yoga, early on, you talk about the five yamas and the 5 niyamas. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
You are. Yep, you are. That's correct. You're doing good.
All right. So the yamas and the niyamas, I've heard that spoken of as the core of yoga, or kind of the core values of yoga. I've heard that in other sources. Is that what they are?
Yes, it's kind of like it's a code, if you will, of how do we live well, and how can we take these 10, if you will. I mean, there's 5 yamas and there's 5 niyamas. How can we take these principles and apply them to our life so that we can live well, so that we can live in alignment?
And so kind of what you've done in the book is you've taken each one of these and you tell some stories around it, and you do a chapter on each one of these yamas and niyamas, huh?
Yeah. It's my interpretation, right? So I think every person that writes about the yamas and the niyamas, it's similar content, but it's just kind of your own interpretation of each one and how I applied it to my life. I think people really identify when you're able to share your own personal stories and what you learned from them. It makes you relatable.
Yeah.
And so, that was what I did in each chapter, was talking about, a personal story. Many of them were challenges that I encountered in this journey that we call life, that we all encounter. And then how did I apply a particular principle, a yama or a niyama, to that challenge?
Right. Yeah. And
so,
then you also talk about the hands, the hand. Yeah. And you also incorporate the chakra system, but you go a little beyond what most of us, use the seven chakras. You use a bit more, right?
Yeah. I typically work with, I don't necessarily do a ton of work with the chakras, but usually it's the 7. And to be honest with you, I had 10 chapters. And so I started to do more research on the chakras as a whole and found out that there are actually 110.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was really interesting, and it just kind of all fit. So I went into 10 chakras for the 10 chapters to kind of provide a little bit more of a, not just, we can all read a book, but I wanted people to be able to maybe apply some of the, whether or not it's the hand placements or the breathing or a meditation, how can we now actually practice this, like bring practical tools like this into our life? And not all of them are going to resonate with people, but my hope is that maybe a few will.
I think probably more than you think will resonate. And we're going to take a break here. When we come back, let's dive in. And these are things we need: living peace and living truth, living with integrity, with balance, letting go, practicing self-discipline, surrender. We need these today.
Yes, we do.
Living yoga beyond the mat, 10 life-changing ways to move from messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. Nicole Byars is our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. You can find her at NicoleByars.com. You can find her book where you buy books. But don't run out right now. Stay with us. We've got more for her to teach us today here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us. It's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, our life strategist today, Nicole Byars. You can find her at your favorite bookseller. The name of her book, it's a good one. It's actually her first book, and I hope she'll write more. 10 life-changing ways to move from messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. And you can find her at your local bookseller. You can find her at NicoleByars.com. Or I guess if you're around, the Minneapolis area, you can drop in and have a cup of coffee or cup of tea at her yoga studio.
Honest yoga.
Yeah, there you go. I guess I shouldn't be inviting people in for you, Nicole.
That's okay. We love the company.
There you go. So, we were talking about the 10, the 10 yamas and niyamas. Well, 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. So living peace, living truth, living with integrity, living with balance, the practice of letting go, practicing purity, living with contentment, practicing self-discipline, living in alignment, and surrender. Man, we need these today, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What when you sat down and began to write, when you followed the instructions that were given to you, write, Nicole,
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
What did you start? Did it come to you right away in terms of, okay, I want to write about living peace? Did the stories come right away, or
How did it unfold?
yeah, how did it unfold for you?
Yeah, I mean, when you first start writing or you come up with a book concept, I mean, the concept to me came very quickly. The outline was pretty simple for me to start. But once I started writing, I do think that if you can put, like I said, if you can put out some of your own personal stories, and you're able to be vulnerable with your readers or with your audience, it just, for many people, helps them so much on their own journey. So each chapter, it was very clear to me what each chapter would be about based on the yamas and the niyamas. But again, it was my own interpretation. And when I sat down, it was just like whatever came to me, whatever story came to me was where I would write and what I would write about. And I just felt guided in that sense, and to kind of follow my intuition and follow my guidance on each personal story. I mean, I knew I would write about some of the big challenges that I've, gone through with divorce and eating disorder and things like that. But the other stories just came based on where I was being guided, I feel like.
Yeah. Sure. You told a story in Living Peace, beautiful day, gorgeous day, woke up before everybody else in the house, made a great cup of coffee, went out, and then you had this sudden, and I think this is so relatable today. Then this, you're enjoying the peace, and all of a sudden then, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, and
life hits, life descends,
yeah.
right?
And and you kind of got asked internally, well, what do you want to do right now?
Yeah, it's such a simple concept. I think especially, I'm a mom as well, of two boys. And I think a lot of times, especially parents out there and women, we forget about what we want, and that morning when I was out on my paddleboard, it felt so good. And I was out doing what I wanted to do. But then, being ripped away of, but I should head back, but I should make breakfast for everybody.
You started shooting on yourself. You started shooting all over yourself.
Yes. And then when we start doing that, we're ripping ourselves away from the present moment, right? Mm-hmm. So we're ripping ourselves away. And just to give you a statistic really quick, and I put it in this chapter, but the average person has 50 to 70,000 thoughts in a day. And that's insane. And 80% of those thoughts, whether or not it's about yourself or other people or judgments, are negative. And so you can imagine if that's if the majority of our day we're spending up in our head, and we're not really in the present moment, how that really can take a toll on us.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. So it's just this simple question, when you're feeling yourself, like in that moment when I was ripped away and I felt like I was shitting all over myself, do I really need to do those things right now? No, I don't.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, what do I want to do in this moment? And what I teach many of my students and clients about is, especially again as mothers and women, is we don't want to serve from an empty cup. And so many of us serve or give from an empty cup because we're giving to everybody else before we're giving to ourselves. Yeah. I want people to learn how to give and serve from an overflowing cup.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
And then we're able to show up and care for the people that we love in such a more meaningful and fulfilling way.
Well, if we keep trying to give from that empty cup, like so many of us do, then we're going to get what so many,
which is resentment.
Resentment and burnout,
Yeah.
you know, is what we're going to get.
Yeah.
And
absolutely,
that gets talked a lot about. I love that in the book you give us the idea of journal prompts. You know, we talk a lot about the power of journaling and writing here on Strategies, but like under this, when was the last time you felt completely at peace? That's one of the prompts. You could do a lot of writing about that. Yeah. And what were you doing? Where were you? And describe it in great detail. And then, you know, what does peace mean to you? Yeah. What does living peacefully look like to you? I mean, you know, so many of us don't know, you know?
Well, so that's such a good point, because I've taught, you know, like webinars on this particular chapter, and so many people have said, I've never thought about that. Right. I don't even know what that looks like for me. And I just believe so strongly in, you know, just bringing awareness to it is so powerful, you know, and so if you don't know, that's okay. That's absolutely okay. But how about we explore that?
Right.
You know,
you got to start from somewhere.
Yeah. And it can be kind of exciting to just like journal write on this.
You know a little bit about that, don't you?
Yeah, that's one of my go-tos. I mean, I think it's very powerful and transformative. And I love. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I would just say I love that in your book, you know, you offer from your perspective, right, your story, and then you invite us as the audience, as the readers, to really experience it and to get to know what it means for us through these experiences that you offer for us.
Yeah. And I think that when you're able, I think the feedback from many people has been just how they can relate, how relatable it is to their own lives, and that people don't feel alone in some of their own experiences because they're very similar to the experiences that I write about in the book. And I don't know, I wanted to just bring this up really quick about journal prompts. Yeah. I sometimes fight writing in a journal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can find myself being very resistant to writing sometimes because I think the fear is, what if I don't know the answer to the question? Or what if I don't even know how to answer it? And so I always know, though, when I come back to my journaling and I actually, and there is no perfect way to do it, and I just allow myself to get thoughts onto paper, it is such a beautiful way to release, to understand yourself more. And I guess my encouragement is to not be afraid necessarily of the journaling. And if you are resisting, maybe just get curious about why.
Yeah, because it's inside you. Yeah. I mean, it's inside all of us, and it will come out, and it will surprise the heck out of you.
And it's such a powerful way to cultivate that relationship with self.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You talk about the B word, and so many of us are out of it, you know. We're not in balance.
Yeah.
And I love the quote from Oprah Winfrey, balance lives in the present. When you feel the earth moving, bring yourself back to the now. You'll handle whatever shakeup the next moment brings when you get to it. In this moment, you're still breathing. In this moment, you've survived. In this moment, you're finding a way to step onto higher ground. She's wise beyond her years, that Oprah.
She is.
Yeah.
Oh, she's great.
So you talk about being in your therapist's office on a spring day and looked at you with a lot of love and compassion. It's time, Nicole. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. It was so clear to me, and this chapter was very clear when I was writing it. I think at that moment, I was in my mid-20s. I think I was 24, 25, and I had been struggling with an eating disorder, anorexia, for quite a while. And it was time for me I needed more help besides my therapist. And so she had suggested an eating disorder treatment center here in Minneapolis that I ended up going to. And there was a holistic approach to how we were going to work through this eating disorder journey, this recovery journey. And a big part of my recovery was yoga. And I think when you have an eating disorder, and like many other things, I think, it can be an all or nothing mindset, or it's I need to have the perfect body. And once I achieve the perfect body, then I'll be happy. It's a very extreme way of living your life. And frankly, what it boiled down to, my eating disorder, it was a lot of hatred towards self, and so really the whole part of this program was learning how to live again in the moment, to be present with self, and to learn how to love yourself again.
I'm glad you answered that call, and I think because you answered that call, we've got this book, Living Yoga Beyond the Mat, at your favorite bookseller. It's 10 life-changing ways to move from messy personal growth to living in the heart-centered alignment. Nicole Byars, our life strategist today here on Strategies for Living. We've got more to come. Stay here. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM 710 Keel. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, our life strategist this evening, Nicole Byars. And she's got a new book out, 10 life-changing ways to move from messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. The title is Living Yoga Beyond the Mat. And again, you can find her at NicoleByars.com. So, as in so many times, we think when we're in the throes of something, in your particular case, you were in the throes of an eating disorder, and your therapist said it's time, and you ended up going to treatment. And thank goodness that you did, because I think that we got this book out of your treatment. But tell us a little bit more about that experience of, confronting
Sure.
that and what you learned in addition to yoga in treatment.
Sure. So, I went obviously to treatment pretty resistantly, but still went and knew I needed to be there. And when I found out that yoga was a big part of the recovery, and part of the, I guess, day-to-day, if you will, I was not happy about that. I was more of a pound the pavement, run, workout, really hard type of person.
Yeah.
And so when I had to do this very slow moving yoga practice, I wasn't really excited about it. And so for 2 weeks, I went very resistantly. I wasn't very open to the experience, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And I do remember and I remember it clear as day. And we were practicing yoga outside one morning. And the instructor, she had instructed us to close our eyes. And we were just standing there in what we call mountain pose or Tadasana, just standing with our feet on the grass. We had our palms facing kind of like the instructor, if you will. And she just instructed us to close our eyes. And as I closed my eyes, I began to notice the sun on my skin, the warmth around me. I began to notice my feet underneath me. And it was just for this like brief 10 seconds where I felt this connection, this strong connection towards myself. And to be honest with you, it was a deep love towards myself, something that I hadn't felt in years. And so, yeah, that particular experience, and again, it was only 10 seconds of just being there, connecting with myself, living and being in that present moment. I wanted more of that.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah. And that's where I really started that journey, I guess, of yoga and becoming more open to it and really wanting to experience more of that feeling that I had. And it all began in treatment that one morning.
You know, one of the things that I think is tough in living life in the 21st century, the life we live today, is we're holding on to so much, tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So letting go, how do we begin? I mean, you talk about in the book, the practice of letting go. What's the beginning place, Nicole? How do we begin? Because this is a tough area. We're holding on so tight.
Yeah, we are holding on so tight. I think it starts with a sense of awareness. I think so many of us, we go throughout our life saying yes to so many things. To many people especially with the social media age, we are performing and we are comparing to everybody else. And so I think it starts with just bringing an awareness to the things or the commitments or the many things that we might be saying yes to that might be draining our energy. So I always like people to do this exercise, and it's very simple. It's just, what are the things that are draining my energy? I like to call them energy suckers. And what are the things that are energy givers? What's giving me life? And so to make a list of all the things that are draining your energy and to make a list of the things that are filling you up, that is giving you life. And when you look at those energy suckers, and, they could be commitments that you've made, so many different commitments that you've made that you wished maybe you wouldn't have said yes to. Let's do less of the energy suckers. Let's do less of the energy drainers. And let's incorporate more of those energy givers. And so if you look at that list and you look at the energy suckers, how can we let go of some of those things?
Yeah.
And so that we can create more space for those things in our life that give us life. And it starts with an awareness on what those are.
I love that. And that makes it so much easier for people, I think, that have trouble, quote unquote, letting go. Because once you see that, once you're aware that, okay, well, this wasn't really even serving me to begin with, it's that much easier to practice letting go with those things so that eventually you can with everything.
Yeah. And it's a practice, right?
Yeah.
We're never fully enlightened or evolved. You know what I mean? It's a journey.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think a lot, as you mentioned, social media can kind of make us wonder, scratch our heads. I need to have a product, right? And it's really not about that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I think there's so much in this book that really speaks to us today. And you know, in a sense, it's kind of related to letting go, but in a sense, but maybe not, surrender. You know, we might hear that word today, and the macho in us, you know, surrender, never. You know. When you talk about surrender, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, I think it's surrender is a tough process, you know, and I think for some of us that you're talking about this gripping onto life, you know, surrender is really about kind of releasing your grip, if you will. Like, how can we release some of the control that we have in our life? And sometimes all it takes is to stop, to pause, and to breathe. And I believe that sometimes all we need is to slow down, to tune in. And sometimes when we surrender, I always try and ask people, when you think you've surrendered, try and surrender more. And what does that mean? You know, is how can we slow down a little bit more? How can we release our grip just a little bit more? And I think that, again, it's a process. And I talk about it a lot in that chapter of different ways that we can practice this idea of surrender. And also, I think thinking about surrender, I also think it's important to think about practicing acceptance around surrender.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is good stuff. This is great stuff. Living Yoga Beyond the Mat. That's the name of the book. Nicole Byars is the author. Life-changing ways, 10 of them, to move from messy personal growth to living in heart-centered alignment. Nicole Byars. Go get this book. Visit her online, NicoleByars.com. We'll be back to wrap up our conversation here today on Strategies for Living with Nicole Byars. Be right back.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
Hey, welcome back in. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, with Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, and our life strategist today, Nicole Byars. The only one complaint I've got here, Nicole, and that is we need more than an hour.
Absolutely, we
You
do.
know, we need way more than an hour. I mean, I don't want people to think this is not a big old thick book. I
No,
mean, you've
it's
done a
not.
great job being very concise with this book. So thank you for
And
that.
yet packed full of information
most
and
definitely.
experiences.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And I think the feedback that I've received, at first I was insecure thinking it wasn't long enough. And what people have said is it's just a very easy read.
Yeah.
And that's my hope, you know, is that it's an easy read. And a lot of times I never finish super long books I have in personal development. So hopefully people finish the book as
I think it's just right.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
for this day and
I
people's
think
attention right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's just right.
I mean, you capture the attention and then you also engage in a process along the way. I think it's a great formula.
So I hope what you'll do is you'll come back and join us again and be a life strategist again here on Strategies for Living. But in the meantime, we invite people to continue the conversation with you, and they can do that in a couple of ways. They can go to NicoleByars.com, or they can, hopefully, better way, go get the book.
Go get it.
Yeah. Living Yoga Beyond the Mat. You can find it wherever you buy books. And I'm sure you can get it at Amazon. In fact, I know you can get it at Amazon.com. And if you like you've got an audio version of it too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right. So there you go. A lot of people like that these days. Nicole Byars, thank you for being a great life strategist here on Strategies for Living. And folks, thank you. Thank you for joining us here on Strategies. We do this each and every day. We do it for you. So thank you. And we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Pintail Roofing and Learning RX and Empress Cannabis with Love and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who is it that you'd call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Nicole Byars, for Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time, right here on Strategies for Living.